Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me this afternoon. I have my friend Cindy Burns on. She's a coach for widows and widowers. However, she does expand her horizons, and for those that are grieving for other things, depressed, have a hard time of year, this time of year, etc., etc. So I'm going to bring her on. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, how are you today?
Very good. Yourself?
Good. It's good to see you again.
Now, tell me a little bit about yourself and your journey to how you got to where you are.
Well, yeah, it was quite a journey, actually. August 2nd, 2011, I lost my husband of 33 years to lung cancer. And I mean, of course, I had the normal grieving and stuff like everybody does. And I did pretty good. I bounced back and I was back to work 2 weeks later. And I was okay. That's what I told everybody. I'm okay. I'm good. And um and I thought I was. Come to find out, I wasn't. I was denying my feelings and I was pushing them down and hiding them because I didn't want my adult sons to worry about me. They were grieving their dad. They didn't need to worry about me too. And actually, I kind of did them a disservice because part of their grieving process was to worry about me and to help me. And I didn't allow that.
Hmm,
Um, but they're okay. They're okay now. But
glad
it
to hear
came
it.
back, thank you. It came back to bite me about 7 years after he died, when I had retired, my kids were grown and finally situated in a way that they didn't really need me. And I didn't know what to do. I sunk into a deep depression
Hmm.
and I wasn't sad. I just didn't care about anything.
Felt numb.
Yeah, I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to talk to people. And I don't know what it was that caused me to do it, but one day I just realized that I could live another 20, 30, hey, 40 years. And did I want it to be like this?
Hmm.
And the answer was big, fat no. So I knew I was depressed. I knew that's what it was. It finally, I finally recognized the symptoms. I knew enough about it to recognize it. So I went to my doctor and I was very, very lucky. The first medications we tried worked.
That's great.
It doesn't often happen that
No.
way. So anybody out there that, goes to their doctor and the medicines don't work the first time, don't say they didn't work. I'm not taking them anymore. I'm not, tell your doctor
Right.
and try something new. It can take a few different combinations sometimes. So, don't give up on yourself because you don't want to live like that. Um, Fast forward a little bit. Um, there was a thing in a group that Nancy and I participate in, and it was about they were talking about memberships, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. So another coach was doing a training, kind of expensive training, on how to start a membership and how to run one. So I took it, even though I had no idea what it was going to be on, what kind of membership I was going to have. And I just knew I needed to do something.
Right.
And somebody in one of the forums, in one of the Facebook groups associated with that course mentioned that she'd just gotten certified as a life coach. So I asked her more about it because it sounded really interesting. So she told me a little bit about it. She told me what school she used. It was an online school. And I looked it up, and the very first course I saw was a life purpose coach.
Hmm.
And that's what I'd been searching for was my new purpose.
Glad you found it.
Yeah, I strongly feel that everybody has a purpose in life, and it can change over time depending on your circumstances, depending on your own personal growth. It can change.
Yep.
And mine had changed, for pretty much all of my adult life. I was a wife and mother.
Had to do a U-turn.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, now what? Who am I and what am I supposed to be doing in this new world that I'm living in?
Right.
And so that I discovered life coaching. And by the end of that course, I it was funny because I knew everything. It was all stuff that I'd already known because of life and raising six boys. Um,
God bless you.
thank you. I miss the days when they were all here. But anyway, um, so I knew it. I knew it. I just had never thought of applying it to myself or anybody else. So I decided I was going to start and I was going to help widows because I didn't want them to have to go through what I went through looking for
Right.
their purpose. So
That must make you feel really good that you can help them.
yes, it really does. People asked me, isn't it depressing to talk about death all day? And I said, well, I don't talk about death all day. I talk about the possibilities that can happen when you go on living,
Right.
when you choose to live your life. And yes, I do help people that are in active grief, is what I call it. It's, those first
Hmm.
few weeks and months. If they come to me at that time, I can help support them. Nobody can make it go away.
Right. No.
Nobody can bring their spouse back. But, I've learned some tricks to handle emotional breakdowns and things like that. And if you're going through anything, feel your feelings. That's what I tell everybody.
Right.
Feel your feelings. Allow them to come. Don't invite them to stay forever, but allow them through the door,
Right.
for a short time. And
Yeah.
you need to process your feelings. Grief is there for a reason,
Right.
and your body, your mind, your soul needs to process it.
Right.
And if you don't, you're going to pay for it later on at some point.
And that also applies to, you know, uh, not necessarily the death of a spouse, but the death of a marriage,
Yeah, a
or
divorce,
or
loss of a
or
job,
yeah, a lot. Right. And
a
even though it's
beloved
not the
pet.
death, it's still life altering, and you
Yeah,
have to pick up the pieces and figure out, now what do I do? Where do I go? And I think that's exactly the niche that you're, you know,
yeah. And
it,
or a beloved pet. Like we had a dog that we got when my youngest son was 2. So he doesn't remember a time when that dog wasn't around. And the dog died when Connor was 17. And it was really hard. It was
yeah,
hard for me because I knew it was hard for him.
yeah,
And this was the world's best dog. I mean, he was lazy and he was by the time he died, he was deaf and but I trusted him. I had no fear about like putting my hand in his mouth if I needed to.
wow,
He was a good dog and he loved us. So it hurts when you lose somebody like
right,
that.
right,
They're a member of the family. Yeah,
S-
loss of a job, having to move,
yep, yep,
you're mourning the people that you left behind, maybe the house you left behind,
right,
because maybe it was better than your new house for some reason.
yeah.
All those things.
Even a
Grief,
death of a parent,
Oh,
You talk to your
definitely.
mom on the phone every day, and now all of a sudden, every day at that time that you talk to her, you're not talking to her anymore. And it spirals.
Yep.
Yeah.
There are still, my mother died 10 years ago yesterday.
Well,
It was Friday the 13th on December 13th, 2013.
hmm,
So, yeah, it was not a lucky day.
no.
And she'd been ill for about 6 weeks, but she'd gone to rehab like that night and she didn't make it.
That's too bad.
But yeah, and it's funny too. It's been 10 years, it doesn't feel like it. And every once in a while, it's like, I need to call mom and ask her, no, can't do that. I got my birth certificate and it doesn't show my time of birth. I have no idea what time I was born, but I wanted it for something.
Oh,
And for like a reading,
yep.
they can human design, have you heard of that?
Mm-mm.
It's kind of like astrology.
Oh,
It's based on your birth, where you're born, your birth time, day and time of birth and all of that. But
hmm.
I don't know what time I was born. So,
I know what time I was born. 6:15. I mean 7:15 in the morning,
oh
or
wow.
7:10. I think my daughter was 4:15. I was 7:10. So tell me, um, if somebody's watching this, tell me, kind of give me a brief explanation of how you can help them.
Depends on where they're at when they come to me. So we do a free consultation to figure that out, to figure out, what you need and whether I can even provide that or help you provide it.
Hmm.
I don't tell you what to do. Sometimes I do give homework, but I don't make your decisions for you. I help you figure out what decisions you need to make. If you come to me and you don't have any idea where you're going, I help you pull that out. The first step is to figure out who you are,
Yeah.
especially after a loss of a parent, a marriage, a spouse. After any loss, we lose part of our identity as well.
Hmm.
And we need to, and just getting older and going through life, our identity kind of changes. I mean, in the core, we're still the same person. And that's what I help you do is dig into that core, find out who you are as a true, authentic self. That's the biggest thing. That helps with grief
Hmm.
too. By figuring out who you are and knowing and then growing that confidence in who you are, it
Yeah.
helps you deal with anything life can throw at you. And then we work on purpose. And then
I bet
we
this year's kind of tough, or this time of year is tough for a lot of
it is
people.
very tough. It's tough for some people don't even know why it's tough.
Yeah.
They just know that they don't feel good around Christmas time. And I mean, if they wanted to, we could dig in and try to find it, but I don't really think that's necessary.
Right.
It's what's necessary is helping you deal with it now. And I'm not going to force you to enjoy Christmas. I'm not going to change your outlook. I'm going to help you cope. I have coping strategies like if you just can't face going to a certain person's house for a Christmas party that they have every year, but this time you're not going with your spouse for
Yeah.
whatever reason, it just feels wrong. It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
You can tell the host, I just don't think I can do it this year. Be honest with them. They may try and talk you out of it and say, oh, it'll be okay. No, they don't, they're not in your shoes. They don't know.
No.
Only you know.
Yeah. And like
And
you said earlier, you need to feel your grief.
and don't let anybody try to fix you because you're not broken. You might be a little damaged, but you're not broken.
We're all damaged, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. You're about there. We're bruised, but we go on. And sometimes this net well, I was gonna say it never happened to me, but it did a couple times. Grocery shopping, it's really hard for widows and widowers. For some reason, it's the music, it's the it's the reaching for something that you all only bought for that
Yep.
person.
Now you're not.
Uh, yeah, a lot of people can't eat certain foods because it reminds them too much.
Mm,
Now, my husband made fantastic sauerbraten. It was so good. And my son learned how to make it by watching him. So he's carrying on that tradition of making the sauerbraten. And the
nice.
first time he said he was going to make it, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure how I would react to it, but it was good. It brought back happy memories and I was
Well,
okay with
that's
it.
good.
Yeah. But not everybody,
Yeah.
it's okay to say no. I'd rather you didn't this year. We don't decorate. I don't bake cookies. I did that because my husband loved to.
Uh,
I did it for the kids and for him. It's a lot of work.
it is.
It's a lot of work. And if I don't have to do it, we don't entertain,
Right.
and we, meaning I have two adult sons that live with me. I don't know if I mentioned that. Um, but we're the three of us get along really well and we stay out of each other's way most of the time. And so we don't entertain, we don't have people over, so it doesn't matter that we don't decorate.
Right.
And if we did, it would be for us only.
Yeah.
We put up a tree, every couple of years when we might put up a tree, but
I'm the same way. I had one last year. Why do I need one this year?
yeah, yeah. Um, my husband's big thing was lights. Oh, there were lights all over. Inside the house, there were lights wrapped around the stairway banisters, outlining doorways, strung along the ceiling for no reason at all.
My
There
daughter's
were,
fiance is the same way. Lights
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. So we don't do lights. We don't do lights. That was his thing.
Mm,
It's not that it would make us feel sad.
yeah.
It probably wouldn't. We'd probably actually maybe enjoy having them up, but there just isn't the need to do it. You don't just because something was a tradition, it doesn't mean you're forced to do it. It doesn't mean you're contractually obligated
Right.
to carry on that tradition. Make new tradition. Do something different.
Yep.
Do what's right for you.
All right. What do you have any final words for our viewers? Any specials you have coming up or classes or support groups that you want to extend an invitation to?
I do have a webinar on Monday at 6 o'clock, and I can give Nancy the link and she can give it to you if you're interested. It's going to be about Christmas and it's probably a lot of what I said today, but expanded. And because it will be on Zoom, you'll be on Zoom too, and you feel free to answer or ask me questions. Um, you don't have to be on camera if you don't want. You can change your name and be completely anonymous. It's
Ooh,
fine.
sounds mysterious.
It's fine. Well, some people don't like to bare their
I
soul in front
know.
of strangers,
I know.
but that's why it's sometimes, online stuff is just so much easier
I
than
know.
in person.
It is.
I didn't go to any grief groups. I used to say I didn't want to sit there in a room full of strangers crying.
Right.
And so I didn't go.
Yep.
And a lot of the people that end up coming to me, they don't go to one them either. Or they've been and they're still having issues. They're still just feeling stuck.
Yeah.
And so Yeah, you don't have to be stuck. You don't
All
have to
right.
be.
Well, I'm glad you came on. Thank you for expanding our horizons because I know that some of my crafters are widows, and I think that they, find solstice in doing things with people, and
Yeah,
whether it's talking about it in a group or doing things to get through your fears or even just gathering with a group like you say for Christmas or I'd say for card making, um,
yeah,
just to experience it and kind of put the grief aside. So
yeah. Yeah, I
um,
think, hobbies are such a great outlet, and especially crafting because you have something to show for it.
yeah.
If you play music, okay, but usually you're the only one that ends up hearing it. Things like that. So crafting, you actually have a physical product to show for it. I think
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. And
For
I will
having-
put your information on my Facebook page if there's anybody out there that's interested in pursuing it, which I hope they do because it's helpful to everybody, not just widows and widowers. All right. Thank you very much. Now
Thank you for
we'll
having me.
see you later.
All right,
Bye
bye-bye.
bye.